My name is Rosa Loo, L-O-O.
And when were you born?
I was born in August 1928. I was born in the Republic of Panama. It was a nice place. Well, my father and mother lived there. I went to school, went all the way to high school, Spanish, English, and I learned Chinese also.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, 4 brothers. And I was the only girl. My brother's name. The first one is Alberto, then the other one is Bernardo, the other one Carlos, and Demetrio. I don't know about the oldest one. I don't know where he is now. He must have lived in San Francisco. But the other 3 are already deceased. And then I have some nephews, and I think they have children too. So I don't know much about them. It was a very nice place. I went to school. I had a good time. I had many friends from different countries because Panama is a country that is, what do you call it, intercontinental or something. There are many ships go by there, and then you can get a lot of merchandise from most of the countries around the U.S. and Europe and Asia.
Is that what your father did?
Yes, he had a store. Yeah, he has a store with many merchandise from different countries of the world. He sold a lot of things. He didn't sell anything like furniture, but there were, how you call that? All kinds of things except like lively stuff. He didn't sell things lively stuff. Yeah. There were a lot of good things for the house and everything. He didn't make a lot of money. He didn't make a lot of money. And he bought some properties and went to China. Oh, my father went to Panama when he was about, I think he was 14 years old. Then he went back to China after he was about 30. He had a wife. He had a wife after he went back there. He married, and then my father, then he married another woman. He took her to Panama. And that's where we were born. So my mother had 5 children. I think she started her family, in 6 years, I think she had 5 children. She was a stay-at-home mom, took care of all of us. We went to school. We went to bilingual school. We went to Chinese school. We did a lot of things.
Were you the favorite?
No. They consider that women are not worth at all. That's not good. Well, my father, he had an opinion that girls are not worth anything, only boys. Very bad, very bad. But I went to school. I went to Chinese school for about 4 years. And then I went to Spanish English school. And I learned a lot because I wanted to learn as much as I could. I didn't care whatever who said anything. I was going to school, learn my English and my Spanish. Yeah.
What is your favorite subject to learn about?
Oh my. Oh yes, I just learned English. Try to speak as much as I could. Try to learn as much as I could in the English language. And try to do the best of everything in school. so that people couldn't make fun of me or laugh at me or anything like that. We never learned anything about hobby. My goal was just to study as much as I could. I didn't learn anything like cooking or sewing clothes, nothing. It was just learning the English, learning the Spanish. And I could speak the language like back home in Chinese. And I just wanted to, just learn as much as I could. Nothing housekeeping or anything like that. No sewing, no cooking. But I just went to work for my father. I worked for I think I worked for him for 6 years, doing the accounting work, office work, and then helping him with his English. I didn't get any salary from my father. For 3 years, I didn't get any salary. No salary. I would live at home. The food was at home. Everything was paid for. But I needed to at least buy shoes and clothing. And then my mother told my father, how do you think she's gonna get any money to buy clothing? And he started to pay me my salary so that I could buy things for myself. Clothing, shoes, and all that thing. But he never refused to accept my husband, or before my husband. He didn't want me to marry a non-Chinese fellow. Non-Chinese fellow.
How much did you get paid?
He paid me $50
A month?
per month. $50 per month. I would have to get my clothing, my shoes, or whatever I needed for my personal things.
Was that enough?
Yes, I could save money.
What's that market?
With $50, I would just buy whatever, because my mother used to buy me the clothes, the material. She would sew for me. She would buy the material, and the material was 50 cents a yard. Can you imagine? And I didn't use more than 2 yards. 2 yards. So with my money, I save money. I would put all the money I saved, not at the bank, I would save it in a little drawer, my money.
So what was your relationship like with your father?
Very cold. Because he was not a person who would talk to the children after work, because he would eat his dinner, his lunch at work or at the store. And then he would come home after dinner. He would sit and read the newspaper. And my mom say, no, people are gonna go into the living room. You people be very quiet, no noise, let Daddy read his newspaper. He would never talk to us, never. So we didn't know how was when you have a father at home. What father was there? Who was going to talk to us? My mom would talk to us when she was alone with us, but not my dad. He was there reading his newspaper, sitting there, time to go to sleep, and we would go to sleep. We would never talk to each other. He was very, very, very sad, kind of lonely. that if you didn't have a father at all. So I didn't know what was to have a father, to be able to talk to him, to be even able to, chat and have some time. Very bad, very bad. But I went to school. I learned to go to school, learned to do as much as I could. Read Spanish, English, and everything. We didn't have vacation. Vacation time was going to school, going to school. My older brother and my second brother went to China. My father said that they were going to visit his mother, my grandmother, just for a little while, just for vacation. But they didn't stay for a long time. I think my brother, the two brothers, they stayed in China for about 10 years. 10 years. And then I only had two brothers back home, back in Panama, Carlos, Demetrio. So we went to school. I went to the Instituto Panamericano. So I grew closer to my brothers, Carlos and Demetrio. So, and then Demetrio became the closest one. We could do things. We could go play and do kinds of things. And I think that I spent my school years, my high school year, with Demetrio and Carlos.
How did you meet your husband?
Oh, that was back in Panama. Gee, that's a long story. It goes back all the way. I think I better tell you that.
Okay.
It's a long story. You will laugh about it.
Do you know the story?
My husband's mother was a Panamanian. She got married with a Chinese fellow who was working in Panama. They had a farm. I think all of the family had a farm. The brothers and uncles. They work in the farm. One of the second farms in Panama. And then my father-in-law went back to China and took the family, took the wife and 5 children to Canton province. But my husband was one of the oldest brother, was already in China, living with the wife of his father. You know what's the wife? My father-in-law had a wife in China, a Chinese woman. They had a daughter. He was in China living with his stepmother and the stepsister, while his mother was in Panama with the other children. His mother, his own mother. But then my husband didn't go to school until he was about, 9 years old. He didn't go to school until he was 9 years old. And he was in China for 14 years, so he went to China for 14 years. He went to Chinese school only for 5 years. So then after his mother and the brothers and sisters went to China, he came to Panama. He returned to Panama. My husband returned to Panama. And he was 14 years old. But while he was in China, he all the time was dreaming that he wanted when he was older, he was going to get married with a woman with 3 languages. It's Chinese, English, and Spanish. He all the time dreamt about that he was going to marry a woman with 3 languages. But then when he returned to Panama, he didn't go to school. At 14 years old, he had to go and help with the shop. They had a shop down there. He went down and he worked, and he was a cook. At 14, 15 years old, he would do the cooking for the how you call that? The employees of the shop. He grew up all the time dreaming about getting to marry a woman of 3 languages all the time. And they live in Chiriquí. They live in Chiriquí, but he was all the time thinking and dreaming that when he was going to go to Panama, he was going to meet that girl. 3 languages, you know. And he started asking people about girls who knew how to speak languages, 3 languages. And he met, let me see, he met a girl named, so many years ago, so many years ago. Well, I think I'm going to say that she knew how to speak English and Spanish and Chinese.
She was your competition.
No, I was only 15 years old. But this girl was about 19. 19. She was about 19. I don't remember her name. But then the thing that my husband, or before he was married, he just looked at her. She was wearing some kind of slippers. And then my husband, he saw her those slippers were dirty, and he didn't like it. He said, "Oh, she must be a very dirty woman because her slippers are dirty." So he said, "No." She was dismissed, no. And then I think there was another girl who met also. He met also. Something happened. Then he met me. He said, "Okay, she knows English, Chinese, and Spanish. That is good," but I was 15 years old. And then my mother told him she cannot be married until she graduates from high school. So we were friends, and we went to the movies and all that. I think that we went for about 8 years, because I worked for my father after I graduated from high school. My father didn't like my husband. He said, "He's not a Chinese. He's not a pure Chinese." His father is Chinese, but the mother is a Panamanian. No, I don't like that. So we were just, I was working for my father and waited to see whether he wanted me to get married. He never said anything. He didn't want us to be married. Yeah, I kind of remember when I came to San Francisco. I didn't come to San Francisco first. I came with my brother Demetrio. He had a scholarship from Panama, from his high school. And he got a scholarship in order to come to Nebraska, to study for 4 years. Let's see. And I decided to follow him and just come to visit to Nebraska and come a little visit here. And he stayed in Nebraska. And then, let me see. My sister-in-law, Auntie Sonia, came too. She came with her brother, who was supposed to be my husband. And then we came to San Francisco after being in Nebraska for about 2 weeks. And Uncle Demetrio stayed there to study. And then I came with Auntie Sonia, my husband, but I was already married to him in Panama before we came to the United States. So we came all the way with a Greyhound bus from Lincoln, Nebraska, all the way to San Francisco. It took us 3 days to get here from Nebraska, 3 days. And we stay in the hotel. I and my husband stay in the hotel. Auntie Sonia went with Auntie Martha. But then my husband, let me see, he got a job too as a dishwasher in one of the restaurants in San Francisco. That was a Italian restaurant. They call Vanesi restaurant. He worked there. He worked from 6 to 3 in the morning. And I would go to work as a secretary from 8:30 to 5:30. I think I got a job in about less than 2 weeks. Coming from Nebraska. I got a job, and it was a very good pay job, $200 a month.
What year was that?
It was 1951, yeah, right before Lincoln was born.
Where did you live?
Huh?
Where did you live?
I live in the hotel because we didn't have a place yet. We didn't know to get a place. We live in the hotel. I used to go to work. I used to walk all the way from Stockton all the way to Sutter. No, that's it. No. Stockton Street all the way to Sutter Street. Yeah, that's right. The company was in Sutter Street. I was a secretary. I had to take shorthand. Do you know what's shorthand? They didn't have anything like that, anything electric, anything like that. It was shorthand. Shall I tell you about the sad thing that happened? I worked there. It was good pay, $200. $200, and then there was a good pay. Well, the work was good. I had to take shorthand, take typing, get some of the catalogs out, because that was a wholesale place. And then after a while, because we didn't, how you call that? We didn't have any residents here because we were visiting only. So, and then we were having a lawyer, a Chinese lawyer, helping us so that we can get so we can get permanent residence in the USA. But then we met another couple who were Chinese people who were waiting to become residents in the United States. Oh my God, that was a stress. a very sad story. That woman who was waiting for her resident, she was a friend of my employer. She told my employer that I was not a resident. So I was only temporarily here. And then the next day on Monday, my boss, the employer, right away fired me. Fired me because I didn't have any residence here. Because as my employer, he didn't have a residence here. He was waiting for his residency. So he didn't like me. He said, "Oh, you're gonna be fired." He didn't say fired. "We don't need you anymore." So I was fired. I didn't have any job anymore. But then I think about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I got another job.
Very marketable.
What did you do?
Yeah, I work as a billing clerk. But I didn't have any residence here. I changed my name.
What was your name?
I changed my name. I changed my name completely, so that they didn't have anything to do with anything of my old name. So I worked there for 5 years.
What was your name?
And no, I think it's better not to say that.
IRS would count.
There are all kinds of things around here about what's going on now. Mm-hmm. While I was working in the insurance company, Lincoln was born. My first son was born, 53. And then the lawyer who was working at our case say, you cannot have residence yet because you people are Chinese people, but born in Panama, and you are not considered as Panamanian citizen. And at that time, the Chinese people were allowed 103 people yearly to come here. So, and then the lawyer told us it would take you ages in order to get into your how you call that? In order so you can get into the United States as legal residents. So the lawyer really fought hard for us so that we could get our residence and say, you know what? Have another baby. And Uncle Lincoln was only 14 months old. The lawyer said, have another baby. Because if you won't have babies born in the United States, you might have a better chance to live here. So after 14 months, Uncle Jesus was born. 1954. Can you imagine? Lincoln, Jesus. We work hard, the lawyer worked hard, trying to get our residence here. Nothing yet. All the time. Cannot get residence yet. And then the lawyer said, have another baby. And Yamin was born. She was born in 1956. So we worked hard. We had children, resident children. No, the immigration, said, no way. You cannot be resident here. We had to go. We had to return to Panama. Well, Uncle Jesus, Uncle Lincoln, Auntie Yamin. Can you imagine? It was very sad. We had such high hopes of living in here. where the children could be raised and educated. No way, we had to go back home. So then we went back home, but Uncle Nolan was conceived here. He was conceived here. But then he was born in Panama, because at that time we had to go to Panama. We had 3 children and 1 conceived here. And then Uncle Nolan was born in Panama. And then my husband said, no, the children, they are going to school, so you better stay home and I will work. But you don't have to work because you have to take care of the children, 4 children. And then God gave us another child. Who was that? Auntie Rosemary. He was born in 1960. Your grandfather was, he was so kind. He would think about other people, think about his children first. He never thought about, oh, I don't want, she's a girl. My father didn't want me to be a girl. He wanted all boys. He never said, oh, Yemin is a girl. We can throw her out or whatever. Oh, Rosemary is another girl. I don't want a girl. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? And he would do things for other people. He would be with their family all the time. His children were his children. And you know how he would say that? My children are my, how he would say that? My children are born from love. From love. Not like, oh, yeah, the child, it's okay. I don't care. No, he never said that. My children are from love. The love that he gave his children. He wanted more children. And then when Uncle Jesus and Uncle Nolan, let us see, Uncle Jesus was 2 years old. Uncle Nolan was 1 year before Jesus. We were living in San Francisco. And there was this lady who passed away. Too bad, she was so young. She had 3 girls. This lady had 3 girls and 1 boy. But she wanted another son. And the doctor told her. The doctor was my doctor. She took care of me while I had Lincoln and I had Jesus. But this doctor was the doctor of this lady. She said, no, your children are too small. You're not supposed to have another child so soon, but your body is still recuperating for your 4th child. She wanted another son. Because she said, one son, 2 girls. She wanted another son. The doctor, no, not too soon. Later on, maybe. But she was so weak from her baby. Because she was not, the doctor told her, not so soon to have another baby. She passed away, she died. She couldn't, she was not well enough, strong enough to have another baby. So, and then she passed away. The baby was only born, just born. So she passed away. And then my husband, your grandfather, said, let us adopt that baby. Can you imagine? I already had Jesus and Lincoln. He said, let's have that baby. And we were not resident here yet. Let's have that boy. But I said, no, but we don't have any resident. How can we take care of another baby? He said, yes, he doesn't have any mother. We could have him. And then I said, no, it's better not. Because we have 2 boys and then we don't have any resident. And let's not think about it. So we just gave up that boy. Can you imagine? Even have no resident, he wanted to take care of that boy. I remember we lived in Chestnut Street. That was the Uncle Lincoln and Uncle Jesus. So we gave up that boy. And then my mother, even she turned against me because she said, you have too many children. You are not supposed to have another baby. When I was pregnant of Rosemary, she said, abort her. Can you imagine? My mother tell me to abort my child. I told my husband. He said, what? We're not gonna do that. We don't do that. This is our child. We cannot abort our child. There are so many technology, so many new things and all that.
Right.
We didn't have those things before.
So you have to.
We had to type. We didn't have any copy machine. You should have seen how we, when I was 15, 16 years old, the copy machine, it was like a big drum like this. You have to type it up. Type up and there were holes. The letters were whole. And then you will put it in the in the drum, and then from there on make copies out of it. Can you imagine those things that we have to remember things? Even I went to work, we have to make copies out of that drum. Type. You people don't know what's a typewriter. When I learned how to type, the letters were all in black. You had to memorize what A, S, and all that. Can you imagine that? Right? And when I went to school, I had to work at that time. It was harder. And then you had to, especially like I had my English class, and I had to speak Chinese at home. And when I went outside of the house, speak Spanish. Yeah, 3 languages at the same time. So you people should be more technique, more accurate. You don't have those things like before we had. It is. And now you know, you say that you cannot remember what you did last week. Oh, yeah, my golly. Remember a lot of things. Yeah.
So what happened after you moved back to Panama?
Had to stay home and take care of the children.
Where did you live?
We live, I lived with my father and mother for a little while. They had a little place there. And then he had a house there. We lived there for about 15, 16 years old. But I didn't go to work until, my golly, if I can remember. Rosemary was 8 years old when I returned to work. I worked in Casa Vista for 10 years. Then Casa Victor ran out of business. I stopped working. But then, since I was not working, Rosemary was already working in the Bank of America. Lincoln was already married here in, where was he? In Hong Kong.
You skipped like 30 years.
Yeah. Did I skip 30 years? Cannot be. No.
How did Auntie Rosemary get born? And then she was 8, and then she worked for Bank of America.
No.
Very smart. She grew up fast.
Yeah.
Very precocious.
Were you rich?
No,
In
no,
Panama?
no. Oh, I stopped at, I skipped from when she was 8 years old. Then I should let that go. I mean,
It doesn't matter.
huh?
What were our parents like as children?
I was perfect.
What were the parents?
What were our parents like as children?
How was Nolan as a child?
How was Jesus or
Yeah.
Lincoln or Rosemary?
I was the best.
You mean?
Always.
How did they get their names?
So I
Yeah,
didn't say,
That's a good
I
question.
didn't say anything about the children getting married and all that.
No,
Not
before
growing
that.
up first.
Yeah.
My children didn't have any toys or anything like that. How could?
Why?
Because you have to have food first. You have to feed them first. You have to let them study first, not to have toys. They didn't have toys. All my children didn't have toys. We had to buy clothes for them first. For Christmas, we had to go check the clothing first, the uniform, because they had uniform in grade school. No toys, no toys. You ask Rosemary whether she has any toy. You ask Uncle Nolan, did he have any toy? One bike for the 5 children. Not a bike, that was a, ¿cómo se llama velocípedo?
Triciclo.
Yeah, tricycle. One tricycle for 5 of them. The 3 boys and 2 girls. They would take turn. All 5 of them climbing the tricycle. Can you imagine? And the children that they, each one has a tricycle, even have a bicycle now. At 5 years old, they have a bicycle.
I'm making up.
Yeah, I tell you.
So who is Lincoln named after?
Lincoln?
Yes.
Yeah, because we were visiting in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Nebraska. Okay.
Yeah. That was the first city that we came to the United States, Lincoln. And then my husband said Lincoln was a very good president. And then so he was Lincoln. And then Jesus, because my husband was a very, not only because he was a Catholic, he believed in Jesus. He believed what Jesus Christ as not as a person, as a being who has been taking care of us. So he was a very he believed in Jesus Christ so much. So that's why Uncle Lincoln is Lincoln Jesus. And then Jesus is Delio, my husband's name. And then Uncle Nolan is Nolan Jesus. So all the three boys were Jesus. And then
Why Nolan?
hmm?
Why Nolan?
Nolan, because of Senator William Nolan. He helped us to try he tried a private bill for us so that we could live in the United States. He was one of the senator of the Senate of the United States. Senator William Nolan. Yeah, so that's why my husband decided to name him Nolan.
You mean?
You mean because my husband, he named her with a Chinese name, Yud Ming. Yud Ming. Yud Ming. It means, excuse me, the brightness of the moon. That's why her name was Yud Ming. And then,
That's it.
mhm. and then Rosemary was Feng Bing. Yeah, the quiet of a beautiful bird. That was her name. That's her name, Yud Ming. Yud Ming, Yud Ming. The moon, and then the quiet of a beautiful bird, Yud Ming.
CIA.
I named her Rosemary because I saw a movie.
Rosemary.
I saw a movie, and the lady was Rosemary.
Rosemary.
Her name was a Rosemary. It's a beautiful movie star. Her name was Jeanette MacDonald. She sang beautiful, beautiful. In the 30s, I think. Yeah. So I like her name, Rosemary. So that's why I changed her Rosemery. So she's Rosemary. She named her after the movie star, Rosemary.
Tell us what they were like as kids.
Oh, they didn't have much because when we were in Panama, it was hard for Chinese Panamanian to get a job. They didn't like the Chinese Panamanian. That was very bad. So they they could hardly get a job. If they get a job, somebody may have recommended them to have a job. But then my husband, your grandfather, I would imagine you call that was a miracle that he got a job. Because my father used to tell people around him, my father's employee, he would tell that my husband was a bad husband. He was a bad one. So that one, if you heard my father say that my husband was a bad husband, people would believe him because he was a merchant. He was well known in the city. So it was hard for him to get a job. Can you imagine? He wouldn't even help his son-in-law. That was sad, very sad. But I think that God was good for us. He took care of us. No matter how hard we spent it, how hard the kids they studied, they tried to do everything they did to get good grades, to be able to go to school. But God has been good to us, even though we had a hard time. Yes, that was it. Oh, Daddy, he worked in the Casa Victor?
How did he get that job?
Yeah, you know what? Since the Chinese people never liked the Chinese the Chinese Panamanian. Like my father was, your father was a Panamanian. Chinese. They don't like to hire people or Panamanian Chinese people. They would rather hire anybody except Chinese and Panamanian.
Why?
They don't like them. I don't know why. It was very bad. It was very bad. They would discriminate them. They would look down on them or anything. They could hardly find any job. They could hardly find any job. Because Chinese and Panamanian are, you can see Daddy. Daddy is not completely Chinese. Can you see that? Can you see Uncle Lincoln? He's not Chinese, Chinese. And Uncle Jesus, he's not completely Chinese. Because his daddy was a Panamanian Chinese. Look at Auntie Rosemary. When people see her, they think that she is like,
Latina.
yes,
Confused.
yeah, yeah. They used to call Auntie Yamin Filipina. When she was coming to Miami to come to the United States, they talked to her in Filipino.
Like,
She didn't understand anything. Some Filipino was talking to her. She said, da, 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 da. She said, I don't understand anything because I'm not a Filipino. You see, there was it was very sad. The way that my father treated us, you know, the way that he treated my husband. He was half Chinese, Panamanian. He was very bad.
so how did he get the job in Casa Victor?
Because of Uncle Nolan. Because of Uncle Nolan. Because when Uncle Nolan was 11 years old, he was in sixth grade. And he won, they call it El Día del Niño. El Día Primero de, November 1st was the Children's Day, El Día del Niño. He won it when he was in sixth grade in la Escuela de México. He won it, and his newspaper, his picture was in the newspaper. I think I have that newspaper. I think. Uncle Nolan. Wei Min Nolan, Jesus Lu. I think I have that newspaper. He won it when he was 11 years old. And then my boss heard about it, and he said, he must be a very intelligent fellow. He's in the newspaper. Nolan in the newspaper. And he was in his, ¿cómo que se te dice que tenía?
Uniform?
No, tenía saco, tenía un saco con corbata y bien bonito.
I know he was wearing a uniform.
Yeah, his suit. He was taking it
Where did you get a suit? I thought he was wearing his uniform.
in his very pretty suit, un juego de saco. So, and then my employer in Casa Victor said, I think I'm gonna interview my husband to see whether he would like to work for us. You see? He knew my husband was not like a silly guy. He could have a son, Ben. So he employed him. That's why from your father, he was employed. Otherwise, nobody would employ him. because my employer said he must be a very intelligent man. I'm gonna have him. Can you imagine? My husband was a good employee. What was he? What kind of? Well, he was a sales clerk first, and he could get a lot of customer. You see, clerk, you have to have a lot of customer in order to have the business on, and he had a lot of customer, good customer, speaking Chinese and speaking in Spanish. But then Uncle Lincoln had a chance to come to the United States to study, to go to in Houston. He went to Houston. And Uncle Jesus came to California. He did very well. Jesus did very well. We only paid for his first school in Berkeley, but he got a scholarship to continue in his study of Berkeley. So he never went back home. He stayed here. He liked Berkeley. He liked his job. So I think he worked for a long time. And how many years did Jesus work when he finished his college? More than 20 years in UC, isn't it?
Well, he's been working in UC for a long time. It's
Yeah.
like 40 plus years.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I don't remember exactly, but he worked many, many years. He never returned home. Never returned home. Yeah.
But he went home for the funeral, I thought.
Only that, just for a few days. But he never stayed anymore. He never stayed. He liked California so much. UC so much. No, Yemin didn't have. She came all by herself after I came with Uncle Nolan and Rosemary.
Also, so the American citizens originally were Jesus and Lincoln.
Yeah.
And
And then-
Yemin is American citizen. She is.
And then who petitioned you and Rosemary? Oh, Jesus petitioned you and
Yes,
Rosemary and,
yes.
You know, he petitioned my mom, and then my mom petitioned my brother.
Oh,
Mhm. He just sent it in, and in just a few months we were all ready
wow.
to
That
come
was
here.
quick.
Yeah, because Jesus is an American citizen.
But in those times it was different.
Yeah.
We didn't have as many immigrants.
Yeah. Mhm.
Where was your husband?
He got sick in 1976. He had lung cancer. He smoked a lot. That was his only thing that he liked. He would sit down and then smoke, talk to people. That was the only thing that drove him to smoking. And then since he worked in another city 50 miles away, he would go work, and then he had a business in the Cologne Free Zone. So he worked there. The only thing that he would just sit around and smoke. And he was very talkative to people.
So what was his business?
Import. Mhm. Because the free zone, the people would buy without having to pay taxes. And those were the people coming from outside of Panama. And they would go back home to Peru, Colombia, and even the United States. They would bring those merchandise, but they didn't have to pay the taxes in Panama. So he had a business there. Yeah. He had it for 3 years there. And because of smoking so much, he got lung cancer. He just lasted 9 months. 9 months. He passed away. He was only 56 years old. That's why Jesus went back. 1977. Yeah.
So what happened to his business when he passed away?
Nolan and stayed there for a little while, just a very short time, and he closed it. I mean, Nolan was only 19 years old. He couldn't take care of the business. He had to study. He was in the Canal Zone. In the Canal Zone, the United States Canal Zone, studying. He lost, I think he had like a scholarship. He lost it because when the daddy got sick, he couldn't go to school every day. So he lost his scholarship. 19 years old. Yeah, he had to take care of him. He would go to Cologne, come back, and take care of maybe the customer and get the money, whatever they had to pay him. And he couldn't go to school. Yeah. But he stayed in the hospital. While my husband was there, he stayed in the hospital. He stayed in the hospital. At nighttime, would be sleeping at the hospital with the daddy, and then the daytime he would go to school. And come back and have some lunch and have some dinner, and go back and stay at the hospital. Yeah. It was very sad at that time. Having to take care of the daddy, having to go to school, so many things happening. Yeah, but too bad he lost his father. Your father lost his father when he was 19 years old. Can you imagine? At 19 years old? I think Lincoln was married already. Let me see. Lincoln was married in 1979. Yeah, he never returned. He never returned to Panama. Then Uncle Nolan came with Auntie Rosemary. 1980. I came first. I came 80 in January. You came in March with Uncle Nolan. Nolan, he stayed in San Francisco for a little short time. And he went back to Minneapolis.
Why?
Because he had a girlfriend there. Uncle Nolan and met Ada in Panama. Because her father was a Chinese merchant in the Cologne Free Zone. So he met Ada there. Yeah. So, but she was here in Minnesota, in Oxford College. And he studied in the University of Minnesota. Yeah. No. What's it called?
When did your parents pass away?
Oh, my father passed away while I was still there. Yeah. And then my mother passed away 1 year before I came back to the States. I used to bathe Rosemary about 7-8 times every day when she was a few months old. She perspired a lot. Even though she was a baby, she was in the little carriage there.
I sort of cool myself.
Yeah. She just had a little diaper there, but she was all the time perspiring. Yeah, bathe her every day. Well, let's see. I came back to the States in 1980. And then here was my brother, my older brother, Alberto. Bernardo was, stay in Panama. Carlos stayed in Panama. But Uncle Demetrio was already here because he was married to Auntie Betty. He was already here. I came in 1980, and then Uncle Demetrio, he was very good to me. Of all my brothers, he was only good to me. He would help me. He would buy things for the children, buy and help me while I came back in 1980. He looked for an apartment for me to see what was the best place where we could live and all that. And he was very good to his brother, Alberto, because he was already here. Alberto with his wife and his children were here. They had already bought a house back in San Francisco. And I lived there in my brother's house for 6 weeks before Uncle Nolan and Auntie Rosemary would come, because their visa were not ready to be, how do you call that? Not ready yet. Your permanent residence here. So I lived with my brother Alberto for 6 weeks. And then my Uncle Demetrio, he found an apartment, and he gave me some of his furniture so that I could have a bedroom, living room, dining room. He helped me to furnish his place in Chinatown, in Mason Street. I think I can remember the 1800 block in Mason Street, San Francisco. Then my brother Demetrio would come and visit me. And all of a sudden, Uncle Demetrio tell me, the wife of Uncle Alberto was getting money out of their money, of the brothers' money, Alberto and Demetrio money. She was getting money out of there to go gamble. And Uncle Demetrio, of course, he didn't like it. This is not the money for gamble. And how would he dare take the money out of the account? She could have the account money, and she was gambling the money away. And I don't know whether the police had anything to do with it or anything. But then, all of a sudden, Uncle Demetrio didn't want to do anything with Uncle Alberto anymore. He said that was, his wife was doing all the stealing of the money and all that. So they departed. They didn't want to do anything anymore. So Uncle Alberto didn't come to visit Uncle Demetrio anymore. So Demetrio was only with myself, his children and my children and all that. We stay, and 1980 I worked. I started working. I didn't have anybody at home anymore. Rosemary was almost ready to get married. No more children around. So I started working in San Francisco. Where did I work? Bechtel. Have you ever heard of Bechtel Company? You remember Bechtel?
Yeah.
Yeah. I work at Bechtel. And Rosemary, when she came, you work at Bechtel too? Mm-hmm. And then you were ready to marry. And then I worked at Bechtel for about a year and a half. And then Uncle Nolan said he needed somebody to help him with the store. He was going to have a second store, Burnsville.
Yep.
But he said it is hard to have somebody that I don't know because he hasn't been there in Minnesota for that long time. And then with a baby. The baby was called Andrew. Andrew mother said, I cannot leave my child and have to go to work. So, and then I left work at Bechtel. I came to Minnesota. Yeah, it was hard for when Andrew was born. We didn't have anybody to take care of him. We didn't have Edvita. Mommy had to
No
stay.
winner.
Mommy had to stay home. We went to the shop with you too, when you were a baby.
Take the bus.
Yeah, because we didn't have Edvita. And then when your uncle asked whether we needed anybody to work for you people, and then they said, well, Edvita doesn't have a job now.
Mm-hmm.
So he brought Edvita. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We had to come back. We couldn't find a job there. It was hard. And then Mommy, your Mommy, would stay with me, I think even Auntie Rosemary, waiting at the crossroad to see whether any bus was coming to take us to that place where we could find a job. We said no. We better go back to San Francisco. Hard to find a job there. My golly, it was hard. Yeah, so we came back to San Francisco.
Who is your favorite grandchild?
That's a loaded
What
question.
All of them
else can
are
you
my
say?
grandchildren.
All the three present.
I enjoy each of them. It's so different, you know, from different family. And it's a joy to be able to just enjoy them. This is from my son, and this is from my daughter. How much I have worked with it, helping them, how much I have met them, and then the friends and all that. I met your friends. Yeah, when you go to a friend, I met your friends. I took care of you when you were tiny. Remember we were talking about you didn't eat anything?
Yeah.
You went on a Saturday to work, and then she was here all by herself with me and with Jesus. That was in the other house, Kensington. She didn't want to eat anything.
Oh, God.
She wanted her bottle. Didn't want to eat anything at all until you came home. My golly. I have so many pictures of it. I think I returned them. I think so.
Of
I
me?
had a big album of, oh yeah.
You're an
That's
early baby.
right.
Have you visited
You're
Little
an early
Rosemary
baby.
in Southern
Mm.
California?
Pardon?
Have you visited Little Rosemary in Southern California?
Not yet.
No.
No, not yet. They have come most of the
Yeah.
time. And I haven't seen James yet.
Uh-huh.
James is a little
Yeah.
over a year old.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah. It's so hard to travel with 3 children, isn't it?
Yeah.
So hard. Yeah, I haven't seen the
You went to
little
Canada.
James.
When?
Yeah.
When did you feel old? When did you feel like you were getting old?
Oh my God. You know, for a long time, I didn't feel like I was old because I was so happy that I could have my children and I could talk to my neighbors and all that. I said, I have 2, or when I had 2, 3 great-grandchildren. On Friday, I had an exercise. I was talking to this lady. I said, I have 5 children, 10 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. She said, what? The instructor didn't have any children. But I just stopped. I said, no. Maybe some people don't. They don't like to tell you so many things. Yeah, yeah. But I'm happy to tell people. I don't feel anything. I just say I have 5 children, 10 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. And if they keep on talking, I will say, who are they? Who are my grandchildren? But if they don't say anything nice, just be quiet. But I'm happy to be able to tell them. Yeah, it is something that you are so happy that you have this many children, many family and all that. Yeah. Well, for now, I can do a lot of things because, you know, when you're 89, you don't have the strength, the ability to do things like when I was younger, when I was having my children. But I try to all the time try to ask God to help me so that I can do things like before. Not as much as before, but not to be unaware of anything. Try to be able to be listening to people talk, what I read, what I hear on radio and TV, the good things are happening. People become more peaceful, no war, peaceful, love for each other. That's the main thing that I want to people just love each other. That's the main thing. The love is the one thing that is making the people that can live together peacefully with love.
What do you want your grandchildren and great-grandchildren to remember you?
To remember me? To remember me as a good grandma. I love them, each one of them. Each one has the love, that I have cared for them. I have been with them. I have lived them even though short time or long time. Try to remember. Try to be good to each other. Try to have the love of God. The first thing you have to have the love of God. Then He will take care of you. And all the time ask for His help. He knows. But a lot of people say, oh, I don't see God. I don't know who He is. I don't know what I can talk. You can talk to God anytime. Anytime you want to. You're sitting down there, or you're walking around, you talk to God. You ask Him. You ask Him what you want. All the time, be very positive. Don't be negative. Negative is no good. Negative means everything is downfall. Negative, bad. Think about positive. All the time positive. I can do things. God will permit me to do this. I will be. God wants me to do this. Respect each other. Respect your father, your mother, your brothers and your sister, your neighbors. Be nice to them, be good to them. No hatred. Everything should be positive. Be good to each other. First, be good to God first. Because He is the one who is taking care of you. Even though you don't see Him, even you don't feel Him, but He is there. You call Him and He will listen to you. Be good to Him. Be good to each other. To each other like your brothers, your family, your neighbors. Be good. Have love for everybody. That's the main thing. Because if you don't have love, you have nothing at all. Love means is God. He is God. Love is God. He loves us and we should love Him.